When a company releases something, they have a hard job because not only do they have to release this thing, but then they kind of have to convince the customer that what they're releasing is in fact good. And they have to convince the customer that all the things that that company thought it would be good for, that it is good for. And sometimes companies kind of change things a little bit and change approach when a company gets sold, perhaps. Now, the thing I'm talking about here is virtual mix rack, or can we even call it virtual mix rack now? Because I just got the email through that all the virtual mix rack modules are coming into their own little things. And it begged the question to me, why? And secondly, is this actually going to be useful? And does this actually serve any real purpose? Now, personally, I may use it every once in a while, but for me, I'm so used to just loading a virtual mix rack that I'm not even going to bother loading up all the individual elements. In fact, that brings up a bigger problem for me, which I'll get onto in a moment. I don't see how introducing these plugins in their individual form really serves all that much purpose, other than people asking for it. And that's kind of a weird thing to say, isn't it? Because companies listen to their customers, I get that, and they should, it's cool. But sometimes customers don't actually know what they want. Or sometimes customers think they want this thing, then don't realize that the amount of resources that it would actually take to do this thing is actually not worth it. All those resources could be easier put onto something else. So over on the computer here, we have the first of this. So this is the FG Stress, and this is the first one, I believe, to come out outside of the virtual mix rack. And then we have virtual mix rack over here. So the one thing that I want to discuss first, which I covered in my virtual mix rack 3.0 video, check it out at the top, is that in the rack, we had this macro functionality. And this was seen, or this was kind of introduced to us as a fantastic thing. This was introduced to us as saving a load of problems and really streamlining workflow. You can see where I'm going with this. The concept of taking them completely out of that destroys that workflow entirely. And I guess my question is, which camp do Slate Digital sit in? Are they in the camp of keeping everything in one place, which I believe their previous owner was quite vocal about keeping, or do they want the extra kind of functionality? Now, virtual mix rack by design is zero latency. So just because you have this loaded up with a load of modules in there, you don't get any more latency than you would do with just the individual one. I think that is true anyway. Yeah, pretty sure it is. So it's not about latency. That's one thing we can say. I don't feel like it really makes it that much easier, because if I want to have, let's say, FG Stress, and then I want to have something else, and then another instance of a virtual mix rack plugin afterwards, so you can kind of just pop it in the middle. So let's say I wanted FG Stress down here, and then I wanted, I don't know, something from another company, let's say Isotope Velvet, because it's just there. Let's say I want to put that in, and then I want to put something else afterwards. So I want to put an EQ after it. That's my chain, and I want to be able to have that in the middle and that in the middle before I get to another virtual mix rack. Well, yeah, it's handy for that. But if this is indeed zero latency, as we're told it is, it doesn't matter. You can just load up the full virtual mix rack in the first place, and everyone's a winner. The second thing, really, I'm not just complaining about Slate Digital. I use all the plugins every single day. I love their stuff. But this seems a bit weird to me. The second thing is, we've all been doing this like a fair amount of time, surely. And you've collected a lot of plugins. Just take a little look at this plugin list, okay? When I go past all the Logic stuff, by the way, I'm not on a new version of Logic, so I can't search for it. So just stay with me. Go to all the units. For a start, that's quite a lot of plugins to go through. If I go to Plugin Alliance, for example, oh my goodness gracious me, there's so many plugins there. And if I go to Isotope stuff, there's some old stuff in there, admittedly, but there's so many. The thing that we're doing here is we're really kind of just giving people so many more choices, but I don't feel like we need them. I don't feel like we really need these choices, because it's all in virtual mix rack anyway. And by design, it's zero latency. If we're in something like Neutron, for example, then we can use the full mothership, or we can bring these individual elements in, because there might be some latency considerations. I kind of get that, and that's the way that it was always built. You know, I think if you get Neutron 5 Advanced, then you get the ability to take them all out. That's cool. It sticks up in the middle, whatever. But latency is a concern there. And Virtual Mix Rack always specifically said that there was no latency. So why does it matter? The thing that occurs to me with these kind of big plugin menus as well is I don't know about you, but I personally find myself favoring plugins that when I go to the company, they're just there. I find myself always using these SSL channel strips because I can kind of just look up and I know that it's the one with a load of words and I always kind of go to it. And for me, so I use the, what's it called? The Lindell de-esser quite a lot. It always frustrates me that I have to scroll down so much to try and find it. And this is kind of first world problems. I've got too many plugins, like I can't find the one I want. But it is a consideration. And I kind of feel like menu diving like that is something that, admittedly, if you've got a new version of Logic, you're not really having that problem because you can just search for it. But if you're on another door, if you're on something that doesn't have search functionality, if you just don't like looking at lists, then it's a bit of a pain in the ass for it, isn't it? So I guess what I'm saying here is it's cool that companies listen to their user base. I get that. And I appreciate the fact that they do. And I appreciate the fact that it's this one big happy family, whatever. But I just don't see why this had to take up a load of resources. And I don't see how changing virtual mix rack in this way has actually benefited people very much. If you're one of the people who asked for this, please do let me know in the comments, because I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it and whether you actually wanted this and why you wanted this. Because my big thing is that this is meant to be zero latency. We always got told that. So how does having one big rack with all the modules in differ from having just one plugin with one module in? I don't quite get it. Because all that's going to happen is if you've got a load of these, you've got FG Stress now, and then maybe you're going to get the Navy thing, the SSLE thing, you're just going to end up with a big list. And to me, I love channel strips. I think they're great. Having them, like everything in one plugin, is very, very cool. And this just goes away from that. And I'm not quite sure I fully understand it. Even if you look at the fact that the macros were so heavily kind of pushed that this is the way you should do things because you've got everything in a rack so you can control all these things at once. So now they're going in a completely different direction, saying, no, you don't necessarily need that. You can use it if you want, but also if you want, I just don't get it. I'm just not sure. I think that covers everything. I'm not trying to have a go at Slate Digital because I love their plugins. I think they're fantastic. I think this decision is a little bit weird. And if you're one of the people who really wanted this, please do let me know. I'd love to find out what your views are on it, because that zero latency thing is really a hang up of mine. I don't need stuff in individual plugins because I can just put two racks and something in the middle. I don't know. It's making my head hurt. But let me know what you think, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Cheers.